The first practical inscription class met in the Grand Inscription Hall's lower practice tier, stone tablets set in rows, observation gallery above, the air carrying the faint ozone of Cipher ink deployed at low intensity for morning calibration. Scholar Torin Avast did not begin with theory. He said, "Write a rank 2 inscription of your choice. No prompt. No template. Show me what you actually know, not what you've been told to demonstrate." 41st-year students on the advanced theory track looked at him as though he had asked them to produce their own grading rubric. Nova looked at her tablet and thought about calibration. She had spent 3 weeks performing upper rank 2 in approved notation, clean, institutionally legible, the academic equivalent of speaking the local dialect without accent. Torin had asked for truth, not dialect. Truth, in her case, was Cipher grammar with 4 conditional branches she had been running in the bathroom at 2 a.m. with water running over the sink. The question was not whether she could write it. The question was how much of it to show. She watched Torin scan the room, tired eyes, ink-stained fingers, the energy of a man who had decided this year's cohort might contain something worth the risk of asking a dangerous question. She decided. Not everything. Not rank 3's autonomous monitoring logic. Not the emergent branches that would read as overlevel to anyone who understood fault analysis. 4-branch compound conditional, rank 2 ceiling, Cipher stroke order visible if you knew what you were looking at. Enough truth to answer the assignment. Enough restraint to survive the whole way afterward. She picked up the stylus. Cipher ink rose purple-black from her fingertips. She wrote the sequence from the inside out: base light function, ambient input, pressure modifier, humidity branch nested under the second conditional. The 4th branch a stabilization loop that kept the compound effect from collapsing when any one input fluctuated. The notation dried in structured luminescence on the stone. The light came up steady. It adjusted when Torin walked past her row, dimming, compensating, the conditional tree doing what trees did when the grammar was complete. She was not the first to finish. Mara finished before her, a clean 2-branch approved sequence that would earn praise and nothing else. Sira finished with a water-tinted light effect that made several students look twice, Loon's specialty visible, elegant, within rank 2 without pushing. Nova finished and dismissed the inscription and stood with her hands at her sides. She counted 4-branch conditionals in the room. 1 hers. Torin descended from the observation gallery row by row. He paused at Mara's tablet nod. At Sira's longer look, appreciation without surprise. At Seelan's correction offered quietly, Seelan flushing. He stopped at Nova's tablet. He looked at the notation for a long moment. The hall was quiet in the particular way of rooms waiting for a verdict they could not predict. Torin said, clean emergent stabilization on the 4th branch. How did you prevent cascade failure when the humidity input spiked? Nova said, tight coupling between branch 2 and branch 3. The 3rd branch absorbs variance before the 4th executes. He said, show me the coupling notation again. She pointed, not rewriting, indicating. The grammar was there for anyone literate enough to read it. His eyes tracked the stroke order. Not approved curriculum stroke order. Cipher. He did not say the word in front of 40 students. He said, good work, and moved to the next row. The hall exhaled. After class, students flowed toward the gardens or the library or the dining hall. Nova gathered her materials without hurry. Torin said, from behind her, quietly, stay a moment. She stayed. The practice tier emptied. When they were alone except for a proctor at the far door who was not paying attention, Torin said, which notation system is this? She said, Cipher. He said, where did you learn it? She said, my mother used it. The sentence was true. It was also a wall, the right size to answer without opening the East Wing study, the garden box, the reincarnation, the 40 chapters, the proof behind a restricted catalog entry labeled K. Vain. Torin held her gaze. He did not say anything else. He opened his notebook and wrote something. She could not read the angle, and closed it. He said, next class, use approved notation unless I tell you otherwise. She said, understood. He left. Nova stood at her tablet with the dismissed inscription's ghost still faint on the stone and thought about being seen by the right person in the wrong way. Torin had identified Cipher. Torin had not reported her in the hall. Torin had told her to hide it again in public. That was not protection. That was conspiracy with conditions. She filed him. Ally candidate, cautious, already investigating. She went to lunch. In the dining hall, Seelan said, "What did Torin want?" Nova said, "To tell me my fourth branch was show-offy." Seelan laughed. Sira did not laugh. She looked at Nova across the table with the correlating eyes and said nothing. In the afternoon, Nova used approved notation in the library for 3 hours where anyone could see. In the bathroom at 2 a.m., she used Cipher and did not write 4 branches. She wrote 5, briefly, and dismissed it before the output stabilized into something that would register as rank 3 to a mana sensor she could not see. Not yet. Soon. Torin was paying attention now. So was she. The game had gained a player who understood the board. That was worth more than praise in a lecture hall. She blew out the candle. Day 128. Cipher identified. The gap between public and private narrowed by one witness who had chosen silence. She slept 3 hours. The academy hummed on. Master Scholar had found her in the advanced theory corridor the next afternoon. He said, "Scholar Torin tells me you produced a 4-branch compound in practical." Nova said, "Yes, Master." He said, "Approved notation?" She said, "For the demonstration he requested, I used the grammar he recognized." Head's eyes narrowed, not suspicious, cataloging. Recognized. She said nothing. He said, "Continue approved emphasis in my advisement sessions. The academy has standards." He paused. "Your father wrote that you should not perform small." "I agree." He left. Nova watched him go and thought about pipelines, Torin choosing silence, Head choosing standards, Crane somewhere above both choosing what silence meant. She filed Head, report risk elevated. That evening she copied Torin's coupling notation from memory into the private notebook, not the folio, her memory, and compared it to Kira's memorized drills. Same lineage. Different century. The grammar held. She was not alone in the language anymore. That was worth the risk of being seen. She practiced approved notation until her wrist ached. In the bathroom at 2 a.m., she practiced Cipher until the ache moved to her fingers instead. 2 stacks. 1 body. The gap was the strategy. She intended to hold it until holding it was more suspicious than revelation. Torin would tell her when. Or the institution would force her hand. She would prefer Torin. She did not always get preferences. She got Thursday evenings and a brother's letter incoming and a database growing and Caden's log she could not see but could infer. Enough for day 128. She slept. The practice hall's stones still held the ghost of 4 branches. Only she and Torin knew whose grammar had written them. For now. Before practical class ended that week, Torin assigned paired review, students trading tablets, critiquing notation in approved grammar only. Sira reviewed Nova's work with loon precision. Your 3rd branch is elegant. Your 4th is show-offy. Nova said, noted. Pren reviewed Mara's 2-branch sequence and found a coupling error without being asked, aptitude confirming itself. Nova watched Pren work and thought about steering him to Torin when the second fault came in. Not yet. Soon. The practice hall held 40 students and 1 secret Cipher identified, hidden again, taught only in Torin's closed office on Thursdays. Master Head observed from the gallery once, clipboard ready. Nova performed approved notation for the paired review. Head left without comment. Pipeline watching. She filed it. The day ended in library corral, open stacks, gap hunting. Night ended in bathroom, rank 3 monitor, Cipher practice. 2 shifts. 1 operator. She was tired. Tired was acceptable. Dead was not. She slept. Day 129. The academy thought it had a rank 2 vein with good conditional control. It had a person building maps in Cipher doodles and a brother circling heat emergent effects 3 days east. The truth was distributed. Good. Distributed systems were harder to kill. She closed her eyes. Morning would bring Edwic's rumor and Sira's correlating stare and Caden somewhere in the forge wing writing in leather. She would be ready. Not eager. Ready. That was enough. Lord Edwick escalated on a Tuesday when the common room was full and the weather was bad enough that everyone stayed indoors with their gossip instead of pretending to study. Nova heard it before she saw it, Seelan's voice, too bright, repeating something with the relish of a person who had been given a story more interesting than homework. Summer breakdown at the manor, that's what they're saying. The family covered it, but she's not herself, it's an act, my cousin in the More Than Embassy said. Nova entered the common room with a stack of OpenStack texts and a face calibrated to boredom. Edwick was by the hearth with two students Nova did not know and Maris Avel, who had the expression of someone watching a fire they had helped light but did not want to be burned by. Edwick saw Nova and did not stop talking. He said, "Psychological episode, you know how it is with pressure airs. She cracked and now they're calling it growth." Nova walked to the side table where Mara sat alone. She set her texts down. She said to Mara, "Did Torrin assign the conductivity supplement?" Mara said yes. Page 40. Nova said, "The example on page 40 uses passive voice to hide who removed the Sever testimony." Mara blinked. "What?" Nova said, "Look at the footnote." Mara looked. The conversation at the hearth continued behind them, Edwick performing concern, Maris adding a detail about the manor being quiet this summer, someone laughing the nervous laugh of a person who wanted to be on the winning side of a rumor and did not yet know which side that was. Nova did not turn around. She did not deny. She did not defend. She did not perform hurt or outrage or the villainess's cold denial. She taught Mara about passive voice. Seelan drifted over because Seelan followed interesting conversations the way insects followed light. Nova explained the footnote. Seelan said, "Wait, so the book is wrong?" Nova said, "The book is incomplete." Sira entered from the corridor, heard the hearth topic, heard Nova's voice on footnotes, and chose the side table without announcement. She said, "May I sit?" Not a question. Nova said yes. Edwick's performance continued for another minute. Then Seelan asked Nova a question about conditional coupling loud enough to pull two students from the hearth's orbit, academic curiosity, the social equivalent of a stronger signal. The rumor did not gain traction in that room. Not because Nova had refuted it. Because the alternative conversation was more interesting and the person at the center of the rumor was visibly not broken. She was helping scholarship students read footnotes on a rainy afternoon. Reality beat narrative when reality was pleasant enough. Edwick left early. Maris stayed 10 minutes, then left without meeting Nova's eyes. That evening, in the 7th floor room, Seelan said, "Edwick's being horrible." Nova said, "Edwick's being Edwick." Sira said, "He's saying you had a breakdown because it's the only way he can explain you without admitting he was wrong." Nova looked at her. Sira said, "I'm not stupid." Nova said, "I know." Silence. Sira said, "Are you going to do something to him?" Nova said, "No." Sira said, "The old you would have." Nova said, "Yes." She did not add, "I'm not her." Sira had heard versions of that from too many people performing change. She opened her textbook. The passive voice exercise was due Thursday. Edwick's rumor would spread to other rooms. It would hit walls where Nova was not sitting with scholarship students who needed help. It would fail in rooms where she had already been normal long enough to make the story work poorly. That was the strategy. Outlast the narrative by being a better user experience than the rumor. In her previous life, she had killed misinformation campaigns by flooding the channel with something more useful. Here the channel was a common room and the flood was homework help. Same principle. Different stack. She thought about Edwick as minor antagonist, persistent, social channel, low physical risk. She thought about ignoring him as psychological warfare. Passive stage. Appropriate for this term. She wrote in the travel notebook. Edwick, breakdown rumor deployed. Response, null. Counter, continued normal behavior and academic pull. Monitor spread. She closed the book. Outside, rain on the Capitol. Inside, for beds, one fragile equilibrium, one roommate who had called her not stupid. Not friendship. Evidence. Evidence accumulated. Caden had said nothing you could show me. Edwick was trying to show people something. Nova was showing them footnotes. She would see which had better uptime. She slept. The rumor would still be there in the morning. She would still be there too. Different person. Same room. Better conversationalist. That was the weapon for now. By week's end, the breakdown rumor had reached 3 common rooms and died in 2 of them. The third, more than aligned students who did not know Nova except by reputation, held it longer until Pren Kale, of all people, said in practical review that Lady Vane had pointed out a fault in his defensive sequence, and if she's broken like a tutor, not like a scandal. Nova had not asked him to say it. Pren had said it because scholarship students remembered who helped. Edwick heard. Edwick smiled the thin smile of a man whose narrative had failed to stick and who was selecting the next adhesive. Nova filed, escalation incoming, complaint trajectory probable. She helped Mara with conductivity. She helped Seelin with conditional phrasing. She ignored Edwick in hallways with the specific non-acknowledgement that infuriated performers more than shouting. Sira said, one night, he's going to do something louder. Nova said, yes. Sira said, will you respond? Nova said, not the way he wants. Sira accepted that. The common room was a battlefield fought with porridge and footnotes instead of knives. Nova preferred this battlefield. She had seen the other kind. She slept. Edwick's rumor existed. So did her counter-narrative. Uptime favored the side that showed up daily. She intended to show up. Every day. Boring. Effective. The old Nova had been memorable. The new Nova would be reliable. Reliability was harder to smear. She wrote that in the notebook and closed it. Rain stopped. Morning came. Edwick would try again. She would not perform small. She would not perform large. She would perform accurate. Rian would have approved the grammar if not the sentiment. She ate breakfast. The war continued on its terms. Hers were better. In the forge wing, Caden heard Edwick's rumor from a night scholar cousin and wrote in the log, narrative deployment failed in observed rooms. Vane non-response effective. Edwick persistence high. He did not share the entry. He trained. In the night tower, Nova taught Seelin the difference between performative concern and actionable concern using Edwick as the negative example without naming him. Seelin said, so you just win by being normal. Nova said, you win by being more useful than the rumor. Normal is a side effect. Seelin thought about that. Sira thought about it too, Nova could tell. Mara said, that's depressing. Nova said, it's accurate. The common room emptied. Edwick's rumor survived in more than aligned corners. It died where Nova ate porridge and corrected footnotes. Geographic failure. Acceptable. She would not chase every room. Chase was performance. Presence was strategy. She would be present where scholarship students and Sira and the advanced theory cohort could see her be the better story. Edwick would escalate to dean complaints eventually. Torin had warned her about head. The pipeline was visible. She mapped it in the database under institutional response paths. Then she slept. She chose cheap strategically, always strategically, even kindness now, especially kindness. That was the edit. Harder than any exploit, and she would keep running it. Her uptime was improving. Edwick's was not. She wrote in the notebook, Edwick rumor, geographic failure map, 2 of 3 common rooms clear. More than corner persists. Do not chase. Outlast. The map was boring and boring won sieges. Day 132, rumor war ongoing, Nova uptime high and Edwick uptime falling, good metrics for now. She slept, and morning brought class and repeat, the boring loop she was in on purpose. Rank 3 arrived on a night when the 7th floor was quiet and the bathroom door had a new inscription scratch on the inside panel from her own testing, failed attempts, dismissed, invisible to anyone who did not know to look. Nova barred the door, turned the sink on, and let water run. It was the poor man's white noise generator, the dormitory equivalent of a signal jammer for anyone trying to listen through pipes or doors for mana signatures that spiked too high. She had pushed the boundary for 2 weeks since Torin identified Cipher in the practice hall, 4 branches in public, 5 in private, 6 dismissed before completion because the 6th wanted to run without her present. Set in walkaway logic. Autonomous conditional branching. Rank 3's threshold. The foundational text described it as the first inscription that functioned correctly without the mage present, a monitoring system, a lock that assessed and responded, a perimeter that did not need a human on the other end of the wire. She had built more sophisticated versions of this in another life. The logic was the same. Only the medium had changed. She wrote on the back of the supply cabinet panel, where the wood grain hid purple-black notation from casual inspection. Input 1, door position, closed baseline. Input 2, latch vibration threshold for disturbance detection. Input 3, mana signature in the corridor, optional filter left broad intentionally. Output, localized light pulse in the bathroom mirror's line of sight. Alert only to someone inside, not a hall alarm. Simple. Elegant. The kind of thing you deployed on a server room door after hours when you could not trust the building's native security. She finished the sequence, stepped back, left the bathroom, closed the door from outside, and reopened it. Nothing. She waited 30 seconds and opened again. The mirror flashed once slow, controlled, a pulse that said someone touched the door while you were not watching. The inscription had executed without her in the room. It had assessed input and responded. Rank 3. Nova stood in the corridor with her hand on the latch and breathed once through the nose. Not triumph. Inventory update. Public, rank 2. Private, rank 3. Delta, 1 full rank and every exploit that rank implied. She dismissed the inscription from outside, the trickier dismissal, requiring a counter-sequence through the gap in the door, and rewrote it from memory. Second run held. Third run held faster. Muscle memory for grammar the approved curriculum said she should not yet possess. She turned off the water, unbarred the door, and returned to the dark room where Sira slept and Celine dreamed and Mara lay awake reading by lamplight under the blanket. Mara whispered, "You okay?" Nova said, "Fine." Plumbing. Mara accepted it. Scholarship students learned not to ask follow-up questions about sounds in the night. Nova lay down and thought about the monitoring inscription on the bathroom door, about the Academy's security perimeter with its rank 4 defensive faults Pren would find later, about restricted section doors and guard rotations and cranes ceiling tells. The logic was always the same. Find the input the system assumed, find the assumption that was wrong, write the branch that exploited it, or write the branch that protected your own perimeter while you slept. She had spent 27 years on one side of that equation. She was learning the other in Cipher ink on a bathroom cabinet. Both were useful. Only one kept you alive in a dormitory where M's Phase 2 had not fired yet, and Edwick was telling people she had broken. She slept 1 hour, woke, and went to class in approved notation. The gap held, and the gap was getting wider. She intended to keep it invisible until invisible was no longer possible. Torin had said, "Unless I tell you otherwise." He had not told her otherwise yet. Rank 3 sat in the bathroom panel like a loaded process, dormant until triggered. Processes should not announce themselves on boot. At breakfast, Celine talked about Edwick's rumor failing in the East Wing common room. Nova ate porridge and let the morning continue. The system had upgraded. No one knew. That was the upgrade's purpose. She tested the monitor inscription again at lunch. Empty bathroom, quick open, pulse confirmed. Mara asked if maintenance had fixed the latch. Nova said, "Not yet." Maintenance would never be called. The inscription was maintenance. Rank 3 meant she could leave processes running while she sat in Torin's history lecture and tracked ceiling tells and pretended her mana signature stayed politely rank 2 in public sensors she could not see but assumed existed, because institutions always had sensors. Assumption was cheaper than surprise. In the lecture, she watched Torin glance at the ceiling seam when sever suppression came up. She added a subnote to cluster E in the database. Faculty aware, cannot say aloud. After class, Pren nodded at her in the corridor. Gratitude without scene. She nodded back. Help instance logged somewhere in Caden's leather notebook she had never seen. Let him log. Data was neutral until interpretation ruined it. She spent the afternoon encoding rank 3 monitor logic into Cipher shorthand, portable, memorizable, deployable on any door she needed. Perimeter alarms were universal. Medium changed. Use case did not. She thought about Hannah Sio's apartment door, cheap chain, cheaper lock, script on a burner phone that pinged when the hall camera saw motion. Same person. Different ink. She dismissed the bathroom inscription before dinner so Mara would not flash again, then rewrote it after lights out in 6 minutes, clean. Rank 3 work. The gap widened and stayed hidden. Both true. Rank 3 meant services, not just effects, door monitors, humidity logs, data retention on a bathroom mirror for 3 hours because Theo's emergent heat might correlate with moisture when his next packet arrived. Family and research lived in one notebook under different tags. She dismissed inscriptions before Mara woke and rewrote the door monitor in 4 minutes, speed improving. Midterm would eventually force showing rank 3. Hiding rank 2 forever was becoming its own tell. She would calibrate when the board required. Torin had not authorized revelation yet. In the library corral, she reviewed the monitor logic using Cipher shorthand disguised as geometry homework. A student nearby copied her angles thinking they were math. Nova did not correct them. Misdirection was free. At practical review, Torin asked the cohort what distinguished a set and walk-away inscription from a sustained cast. Pren answered before anyone else. Nova did not smile. Pren was learning the right questions. That was more valuable than gratitude. Seelin said Edwick looked angry at dinner. Nova said, often. She went to bed with rank 3 holding in the bathroom panel and rank 2 holding on every board that mattered. The gap was the whole strategy, and she would hold it until midterm math said otherwise or until Torin told her otherwise, whichever came first. Before sleep, she ran one more test from the corridor. Open, wait, open, pulse. Dismiss, rewrite, pulse again. The 4th iteration held in under 5 minutes. Speed mattered because speed was what you had when someone searched your room or followed you to a corral or asked you to demonstrate on a floor tablet with 30 students watching. Rank 3 in private was insurance. Rank 2 in public was camouflage. She needed both layers to survive the same week. In the dark, she listened to Seelin mutter about forge gossip and Mara turn a page under her blanket. Ordinary sounds. The most valuable cover the Academy offered. No one suspected a bathroom cabinet held a perimeter alarm written in Cipher ink by a girl who had once run social engineering campaigns for money she no longer needed and stakes she could not afford to miscalculate. Morning would bring Head's practicum and Edwick's jaw and Pren's second nod in a corridor that was beginning to feel like the first node in a network she had not planned and could not yet name. She slept anyway. Processes could run without her. That was the point, and the point was enough for now. Lady Cephra's pre-academy gathering occupied a townhouse in the middle ring, not the embassy district, not the outer markets, the specific geography of minor nobility who had access without power and liked to remind everyone of the difference. Nova attended in onyx and copper, quiet, the vain colors without the old Nova's performative edge. Sira came in loon blue with her cousin as chaperone. Mara had not been invited. Seelin had a smaller invitation and arrived breathless with gossip already loaded. The rooms were candlelit and crowded, the social temperature of a mixer where introductions were currency and seating was policy. Nova had redirected Edwick at the manor and released foreign seating hold, but she still watched the table arrangements the way she watched network topology, who sat elevated, who sat adjacent to power, who sat where they could be seen but not heard. Prince Aldous Loon arrived midway through the second hour. The novel had described him before she met him. Charming, principled seeming, the hero's face in a story that had not yet shown its teeth. In person, he was exactly that on the surface, tall where Aldous was tall in the novel's illustrations she half remembered, fair coloring. The easy smile of someone who had been told since childhood that rooms oriented around him and had never been required to question whether the orientation was earned. He moved through the gathering with practiced grace, speaking to house heads, to Sira's cousin, to Lady Cephra with the warmth of a prince who knew how to make donors feel like founders. He reached Nova 20 minutes after his entrance, which told her he had been watching her longer than the approach suggested. He said, "Lady Vane, I've been hoping to meet you properly." She said, "Your Highness." "The pleasure's mine." Pleasant. Engaged. Careful. The same posture she used with Crane, with Torin, with any power node whose true stack she could not yet read. He said, "You've been the subject of considerable conversation." She said, "So has the weather." He laughed, genuine enough to be practiced, practiced enough to be dangerous. I mean, you've changed. People notice. She said, people usually do when summer ends. His eyes sharpened, not much, a fraction. The charm did not leave. Something underneath it attended more closely. He said, not like this. The sentence was simple. It was also a probe, authentication challenge, the social version of prove you are who the network expects or explain the anomaly. Nova smiled the smile that did not commit to warmth or cold. She said, I'm not sure what version of me you were expecting. He said, the one who he stopped. Recalibrated. Prince smiled back in place. The one from last season's correspondence. She said, correspondence ages pearly. She changed the subject, asked about the Academy's advanced theory track with enough specificity to prove she was a student and not a performance, praised Lady Cephra's wine with enough accuracy to prove she had been paying attention. Introduced Sira into the conversation when Aldous' attention drifted toward positioning rather than talking. Sira handled him with loon courtesy. Nova watched what his charm was built over. Not romance. Not friendship. Interest, a very specific interest in her that tracked her changes the way security tracked anomalous login behavior. Not because the behavior was criminal, because it deviated from baseline and baseline mattered to whoever maintained the system. He wanted something. She could not yet identify what. Crane's godfather interest had grief in it. Caden's interest had hatred in it. Aldous' interest had assessment in it, the hero's face over an auditor's function. She filed him, crown adjacent, vaulted circle unknown to her yet, suspicious of change, not stupid. He said, as she made her farewells near the door, I hope we'll continue this at the Academy. She said, I'm sure we will. He watched her leave. She felt his attention on her back the way she felt inscription panels hum low, persistent, a system checking credentials. Outside, the middle ring air was cold. Sira walked beside her toward the carriages. Sira said, he was measuring you. Nova said, yes. Sira said, you noticed. Nova said, it's a useful habit. Sira said, he does that to me too. She paused. Not tonight. Often. Another pause. He calls it mentorship. Nova said nothing. The heroine and the hero's script were already running. Sira was not stupid. Sira was correlating. Nova returned to the night tower and wrote in Cipher, Aldous Loon, first direct contact. Charm over assessment. Suspicious of my change. Interest not romantic. Watch. In her previous life, she had met clients who smiled like Aldous. They were usually the ones who ordered the cleanup after the job. She hoped she was wrong. Hope was not data. She watched anyway. The novel had called him hero. The room had called him prince. Her threat model called him unidentified objective function. She would learn the function, or she would learn the cost of not learning it. Either way, not tonight. Tonight she slept, and tomorrow brought practical class, observation tier, and a scholarship student named Pren who did not know his defense had a hole in it yet. At the Academy the next week, Aldous passed her in the main hall with crown retinue and smiled the public smile. He said, Lady Vane, and nothing else. She said, Your Highness, and nothing else. Sira watched from the library stairs. Nova did not explain. Explanation would have been performance. That night Sira said, he asked me to reconsider. Nova said, did you? Sira said no. Nova said, good. Sira said, he said you advised me. Nova said, he measures everything. Assume he knows more than he shows. Sira said, like you. Nova looked at her. Sira said, I'm learning. Not friendship. Mutual literacy. Nova returned to the fault database and added, Aldous, positions heroine, measures vein, crown stationary, assessment not romance. She thought about the novel's hero and about the man who had said not like this with real suspicion under the charm. The script was fighting the edit. Good scripts fought back. She would need better patches than refusal letters. Prince Aldous did not appear in her corridor that week. Sira's refusals traveled on crown runners. Nova felt his assessment adjust, not hostility, recalculation. At Cephra's gathering, he had wanted breakdown or strategy. Now the data said strategy. That made her more interesting, not less. The novel's hero was supposed to be romance and principle. The person in the capital was instrumentation wearing charm. She filed Aldous separately from Caden and Crane, 3 threat types, 3 grammars. Caden, clear terms, long evidence. Crane, warmth, boundaries, grief. Aldous, crown positioning, suspicion of change. Sira said Aldous had asked whether Nova was stable. The loom cousin had said Nova helped with drawers and footnotes. Nova modeled functions over porridge. She was a node now, not villain, not heroine, and she would decide what the node routed. Aldous's smaller invitation arrived 2 days later, private tea, crown adjacent, no photographers. Sira declined that too, with loon courtesy and a healing demonstration offered at the public reception instead. Nova heard from Seelan before she heard from Sira. Seelan said, the prince got told no twice. Nova said, good for her. Sira later said, he asked if you told me to refuse. Nova said, what did you say? Sira said, I said I make my own choices and you make yours. She paused. He didn't like that. Nova said, he will try a third angle. Sira said, I know. She looked at Nova. Thank you. For the terrace. Nova said, you asked. Sira said, yes. Not friendship. Acknowledgement. Nova did not attend the public loon reception where Sira performed the healing demonstration instead of sitting at Aldous's right hand. Seelan reported it in explosive detail. Sira magnificent. Photographers catching service, not romance. Aldous smiling with eyes that did not. Edwick said Vane had coached the heroine. Nova said, Sira executed. Mara said, same thing. Nova said, execution matters. Sira said later, it worked. Nova said, for now. Thank you, and you asked we're becoming protocol. Protocol was reliable. Reliable beat rumor. The heroine was less heroine-shaped. The villainess less villain-shaped. The room was confused, and confusion was useful data. Caden passed her in the main hall without stopping, and his log probably noted the loon reception outcome if his crown cousins talked. Let him note, notes were not verdicts. Sira practiced healing notation in the garden that evening, public skill, and not prince accessory. Nova watched from the colonnade without joining. Joining would have been narrative, watching was data. She did not tell Sira that Caden had probably logged the reception. Some data made people perform, and Sira needed to perform as herself, not as a counter-entry in Ashvile's leather book. That was care without saying care. Thursday Folio Hour brought another exception handler derived while Torin watched without praise. She left with ink on her fingers and Crane's name unspoken in the office. Aldous thwarted once, but not forever, and the work continuing the way work always continued, footnotes, porridge. And the slow compile of something that was not friendship and not alliance and might, eventually, become infrastructure. The second practical simulation ran on a Thursday, defensive inscriptions against standardized attack patterns, students rotating through the observation tier while one writer worked on the floor tablet. Nova sat in the gallery with her notebook open to approved lecture notes and her eyes on the notation. Prenkale was on the floor. She had seen him before, advanced theory roster, scholarship placement, the quiet focus of someone who could not afford to fail publicly. Mara had pointed him out in the dining hall once. That's the one Edwick's friends keep trying to seat wrong at gatherings. He was good. His defensive sequence was rank 2 polished to the edge of rank 3, 3 branches, clean thresholds, the kind of work that would earn praise from Master Head and a nod from Torin. Nova watched it compile and saw the fault in 11 seconds. The defense triggered on Mana's signature above a threshold, standard approved pattern, textbook elegant, the kind of solution the curriculum rewarded because it looked complete. It did not account for mana signatures below the threshold that still carried physical force. A low signature projectile. A thrown object with minimal mana trace. A body impact from someone who had learned to dampen their Cipher output the way she had learned to dampen her rank in public. The gap was not large. It was enough. Zero-day instinct, unnamed, unannounced, flagged the exception case the writer had not handled because the framework had not taught her to look for it. Nova wrote nothing in class. She said nothing in the gallery. Pren completed the sequence. The simulated attack from the Proctor's standardized caster triggered above threshold. Defense flared. Successful. Applause from students who did not read notation for a living. The below-threshold test case was not in the simulation. Of course it wasn't. The approved framework did not train you to test what it assumed away. After class, Nova caught Pren in the corridor outside the practice tier. He said, Lady Vane. Surprised, defensive already, the scholarship student's reflex when a noble name intercepted trajectory. She said, your defense has a gap. His chin came up. The simulation. She said, the simulation only tests what the proctor casts. Your third branch assumes all meaningful force arrives with mana above your threshold line. It doesn't. She described the fault, precise, technical, no performance, the way she would have described a misconfigured firewall rule to a junior admin who had not been breached yet. Pren said, he stopped. Show me. She showed him on his own notation paper, not rewriting his work, pointing at the branch, tracing the missing exception case. He checked it. She watched his face move through denial, verification, the cold drop of understanding. He said, quietly, anyone above the line gets stopped. Anyone below walks through. She said, yes. He said, how did you? She said, I read notation the way some people read contracts. I look for what isn't there. Silence. He said, thank you. She said, fix it before anyone else notices. She left, not because she wanted distance for drama, but because being seen with him too long after giving him that information would write a story Edwick could use. Vane recruiting scholarship students. Vane playing mentor. Vane running a game. She had helped. That was new behavior in this life and her last one. In her last life, she would have filed the gap for a client or sold it or let it sit because it wasn't her system. Here she had told a stranger to patch his hole before someone exploited it. She thought about that on the walk to the library. Not redemption. Behavior. Behavior accumulated. Caden wanted evidence. She was building a different dataset without performing for him. Pren would fix the branch or he wouldn't. If he fixed it, he would remember who told him. If he didn't, the fault would still exist and she would have done what she could. That night she wrote in the notebook, 0-day instance 1, Pren Kale defensive, below threshold physical force. Disclosed privately. Used to help. She stared at used to help for a moment and did not cross it out. In the bathroom, the rank 3 door monitor pulsed once when Mara opened the door too quickly on a late return. Mara yelped. Nova, from her bed, said, faulty latch. I'll tell maintenance. Mara laughed nervously. The inscription had worked. The help had worked. 2 systems, same day, different purposes. She was getting better at telling the difference. 2 days later, Pren found her in the open stacks. He said, I fixed the branch. Simulation below threshold failed to breach. He paused. How do you see it? She said, I read for absence. He said, can you teach that? She said, I can point at holes. You have to learn to want to see them. He nodded, scholarship student acceptance of conditional mentorship without noblesse performance. She said, don't ask me in public. Edwick watches. He said, I noticed. Of course he had. Scholarship students noticed who watched whom. She said, fix the next hole you find. Then decide if you still want to learn. He left. She did not promise a classroom. Promises created records. She added to the notebook, Pren, 0-day instance 1 patched. Aptitude high. Steer to Torin wins second fault confirmed. Caden, somewhere in the Forge wing, probably logged help instance 2 if he counted Pren's separately from Mara. Let him count. Numbers were neutral. She returned to cluster A in the database and marked the Pren fault as confirmed patched. The repository grew 1 verified entry. Verified was better than theoretical. Theoretical got you killed. Pren's patched branch appeared in the next simulation, below threshold failure, defense held. Torin noted it publicly as good revision. Pren did not name Nova. Good. Edwick tried to sit beside her and lecture. Nova moved 1 seat left without comment. Edwick's jaw tightened. Caden, if he watched, logged movement not conversation. Help instance 2 confirmed in outcomes if not in thanks. Nova added to the database. Pren, patch verified in simulation. Trust level, provisional. Trust networks grew slow. She had time not infinite, with M still silent and Osea still pale in the corridors, but enough to build rank and allies and proof instead of poking traps she could not see. Pren was one brick. Torin was another. Sira was not a brick. Sira was a person who said thank you on a terrace. Different material. Same wall eventually maybe. She did not plan that far. Thursday footnotes, bathroom rank 3, and Theo's heat diagrams were enough for 1 week. The repository was growing. The help was real, no performance, and she meant it. She walked back to the night tower with Pren's patched notation still in her head, the red lines he had drawn on his own copy, the below-threshold exception case, sitting where the approved template had left a hole. Scholarship students learned fast when survival depended on it. He would find another fault eventually. Every system had another fault. She hoped he would bring it to her before Edwic's friends turned mentorship into scandal. In the room that night, Mara asked about conductivity again. Nova explained valence the slow way, approved vocabulary, no cipher. Teaching was another kind of patch, smaller, public, deniable. Seelan watched and pretended not to. Sira read a letter without looking up. Ordinary Tuesday in a tower full of people who were not allies and not enemies and were, increasingly, data. She thought about Caden somewhere in the forge wing, turning her help into columns and flags. Let him. If the log said help, then help was what the record showed, and records were how institutions decided what was true. Nova wrote one more line in the notebook before sleep. Help behavior, document outcomes, not intentions. Caden will interpret. Let outcomes speak. Then she dismissed the bathroom monitor, rewrote it, and lay down. Rank 3 held in the panel like a promise she had made to herself in another life, and was keeping in this one quiet night at a time. Caden Ashvale kept a log the way his mother kept a garrison map, updated, accurate, and not shown to people who would mistake it for obsession when it was discipline. The notebook was plain leather, no insignia, the pages divided into columns he had designed himself, date, location, observation, assessment, flags. He had started the log 6 weeks after enrollment day, which was 6 weeks after he had watched Lady Novalis Vane walk into the academy courtyard, and the old hatred had aligned with a new assignment. Observe. Do not assume the obvious conclusion is the complete one. His mother had not told him to log. His mother had told him, watch. Decide for yourself. Do not let anger decide for you. The anger was still there. It sat in his chest like a blade he had learned to carry without cutting himself on it every morning, present, functional, not the whole of him. The log was how he carried it without letting it lie. He filled the first 6 weeks in order. Week 1, Vane's arrival, social repositioning, no immediate hostile acts, Edwick positioning for proximity, Vane deflecting without seeing. Week 2, placement examination, Vane upper third, calibrated, he thought, not accidental. He had not watched her during the exam. He had watched his own work. First in cohort. File note, she placed below first deliberately or below capacity. Unclear. Week 3, garden confrontation. Term stated. Her response, all right. Not denial. Not performance of guilt. Acknowledgement of his terms without accepting his verdict. Atypical. Week 4, Edwic's breakdown rumor in the common room. Vane's response null. Academic poll instead. Rumor failed in the East Wing. Passive countersocial effective. Week 5, Lady Cephra's gathering. Report from a cousin, Vane and Aldous spoke. Vane did not perform old patterns. Sira present. No sabotage observed. Inconsistent with baseline villainy. Week 6, practical observation tier. Pren-Kale's defensive fault. He had seen the same gap, had been working toward how to tell Pren without looking like he was interfering with scholarship students. Vane reached Pren first, told him privately, fixed intent not exploit. Help instance number 2. He wrote the week's summary at the Forge Wing desk after evening training. His hand was steady. His jaw was not. He did not revise his assessment of who she was. The old Nova had destroyed Lisa with fabricated evidence. The person in the log had not repeated that act in 6 weeks of observation. Both statements were true. They did not resolve each other. He underlined inconsistent with baseline and added a question mark he did not like. The hatred was not wrong. The data was not cooperating. He had been angry when the world refused to be simple before, at the tribunal when the evidence was clean and Lisa's face was not, at the expulsion when the academy accepted a story that felt too neat, at his own failure to prove what he knew in his bones was manufactured. He was angry now at the same kind of nearness, the story trying to be neat again, villainous reformed, breakdown, long con, pick a narrative that let the room sleep. He did not want the room to sleep. He wanted the truth with its teeth still in it. The log did not give him teeth. It gave him instances. No hostile acts toward other students in 6 weeks. 2 help instances documented. Mara footnote tutoring counted if he was honest. Pren fault counted without question. No engagement with the former social network's active members except shutdown, clinical, public, final. Library use pattern. Theoretical inscription texts. Gap analysis, restricted section approach denied at rank 2. He had verified the denial through order administrative channels, not because he was investigating her access specifically, because he investigated academy security architecture the way Forge students investigated metal stress. Pattern, not social calibration, not old Nova's game board. He did not know what it was. He wrote, insufficient data. Continue observation. Through the Forge wing window, the tower of first script glowed at its lower panels, evening calibration, the building writing itself in low light. Somewhere in that building, Nova Vane was probably in a library corral or a bathroom running water or a garden he had told her to stay away from in meaning if not in words. He thought, nothing you could show me. He thought, she didn't try to show me anything. That was either the most honest thing she had done or the most sophisticated version of the long con he had been warned about. He hated that he could not tell. He hated that he was still watching. He would keep watching because Lisa was still in a room 200 miles north, and he had promised himself that what happened to her would not happen to anyone else, and because his mother had said decide for yourself and he had not decided yet. The log was not forgiveness. It was not romance. It was a night's work, evidence, patience, the refusal to let anger substitute for conclusion. He sharpened a pencil and added 1 line at the bottom of the page. She read Pren's notation in 11 seconds. That is not rank 2 work. He stared at it. He did not flag it inconsistent. He flagged it unknown capability. Do not assume rank public equals rank actual. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday, he did not want to remember. He added another entry from the stairwell outside Torrance corridor. Vane had been behind a closed door for 41 minutes at 7th hour, faculty contact outside, standard advisement, content unknown. He had not followed. Following would have been violation, order discipline, academy privacy, the line between watch and stalking he refused to cross even for Lisa. He had stood in the stairwell and noted the time because noting was what he did when he could not act. He wrote, Torrent a vast, unknown alignment. Conservative assumption, academic interest. Alternative, shared project. Do not assume Torrent is safe for her. Do not assume Torrent is enemy. Insufficient data. His mother would have said good entry. He would not show her the log. Some things he carried alone because spreading them turned observation into coalition before conclusion. Lisa deserved conclusion, not coalition noise. He trained until his hands bled on the practice blade, Forge inscription feedback, minor backlash, dismissed. He thought about Nova reading Pren's notation in 11 seconds. He thought about Torrance closed door. He thought about nothing you could show me and the way she had not tried. Hatred was simple. Inconsistency was work. He chose work because Lisa had been destroyed by a story that was too simple, and he would not do that to the next person in the file, even if the next person was Nova Vane. Forgiveness was not in the column design. Truth was. He would start with truth, whatever it cost. He closed the notebook and went to dinner. The Forge wing smelled like hot metal and ozone. Tomorrow would be another day of data. He would collect it. At the table, an Ashvale cousin asked about the Vane girl. Caden said, I don't have a conclusion. The cousin laughed as if that were evasion. It was accuracy. Conclusions were what people wanted when they were tired of watching. He was not tired yet. After dinner, he returned to the practice hall alone and ran the defensive sequence Pren had patched, slower, reading for the branch Nova had described. The below-threshold case was there now, thin red line, exception handler, ugly but functional. He added to the log, Prun revision verified independently. Vein assessment likely correct. Source of assessment, unknown depth. Unknown depth was the column he kept returning to. Rank 2 on the board. 11-second reads. Closed doors with Torin. Help without performance. He did not know what depth meant yet. He knew shallow explanations were how Lisa had lost. He closed the log again and went to sleep with the blade still in his chest and the data still refusing to simplify, which was inconvenient and probably necessary. Sira found her on the roof garden, a minor terrace off the Night Tower's 5th floor, technically against first-year access rules, technically unenforced if you were quiet and loon blue enough that proctors chose not to see you. Nova had gone there for air. Sira had gone there for something heavier. She said, without preamble, I need to tell you something I haven't told anyone else. Nova said, all right. Sira held a folded letter, Crown stationery, the kind that carried weight without raising its voice. She said, Prince Aldous has asked me to perform at the House Loon reception next week. Not perform music, perform favor. Position myself as his particular companion for the evening. Sit where the photographers sit. Smile when he speaks. Lend him my house's warmth for his crown narrative. Nova said, and you don't want to. Sira said, I don't want to be a piece in someone else's set. The sentence landed clean. Nova thought about the novel, hero positioning heroine, script written before either of them had consented. She thought about Aldous at Cephra's gathering, charm over assessment, interest that was not romance. She thought about Sira at the tea salon, you're not performing for me. She said, what do you want? Not what does he want. Not what does the crown need. The question Sira needed. Sira said, to perform as myself, not as a piece in someone else's set. Nova said, then do that. Sira blinked. The political cost. Nova said, will be less than you think. She explained, not from the novel, from vain political mechanics she had learned in 3 months of manner study and 40 chapters of partial foresight. House Loon's value to the crown was agricultural stability and healing reputation, not proximity theater. Aldous's request was personal positioning, not state requirement. Duke Severin Loon would absorb a polite refusal more easily than a public cringe. The crown needed Loon goodwill more than it needed one evening's photo composition. She said, refuse specifically. Offer an alternative that gives him face, attend the reception, perform a healing demonstration as House Loon's daughter, not as his accessory. If he wants a companion, he can ask someone whose house benefits from crown closeness. More than loves that game. Sira stared at her. Nova said, you asked what you want. I'm telling you how to take it without burning the room down. Silence. The capital spread below, middle ring, outer markets, the circular plan Crane had drawn 2 centuries ago. Sira said, you sound like your father. Nova said, I sound like someone who reads rooms. Sira said, the old you would have told me to accept. Or worse. Nova said, yes. No defense. No performance of I'm different now. Just yes. Sira folded the crown letter. She said, why help me? Nova said, because you asked. Sira said, that's not a reason. Nova said, it's the only one I have inventory for. Sira looked at her for a long time. Not trust. Revision. The heroine receiving strategic counsel from the villainess and not knowing what folder to file it in. Nova said, if you refuse, he'll test another angle. Watch for commission performances that look like choices but aren't. Sira said, you think she stopped. Nova said, I think he's writing a story. I think you get to decide whether you're a character or a person in it. Sira said, quietly, that's a strange thing for you to say. Nova said, I'm full of strange things lately. Sira almost smiled. Almost. She left the terrace first. Nova stayed 10 minutes, watching the capital's lights come on. The original novel's hero was already positioning the heroine. She had just given the heroine a patch for the exploit. That was not redemption. That was choosing which side of the firewall she stood on. She went downstairs. Seelan asked where she had been. Nova said, air. Mara asked if she was done with the conductivity supplement. Nova said yes. Sira wrote a letter that night. Nova heard the pen from her desk, steady strokes, not the frantic ones of someone performing uncertainty. The letter would go to Aldous or to her father or both. Nova did not ask. She wrote in the notebook, Sira, Aldous commission refused, in progress. Strategic counsel given. Relationship, complicated, not alliance. Edwig's rumor still existed in some rooms. M's phase 2 still had not fired. Caden was still logging. Crane was still watching. Aldous would feel the refusal and respond. The script would fight back. She had known that since the 40th chapter of a web novel she had not finished. She was still here. She was still editing. That was enough for one night. Aldous's smaller invitation arrived 2 days later, private tea, Crown adjacent, no photographers. Sira declined that too, with loon courtesy and a healing demonstration offered at the public reception instead. Nova heard from Celine before she heard from Sira. Celine said, the prince got told no twice. Nova said, good for her. Sira later said, he asked if you told me to refuse. Nova said, what did you say? Sira said, I said I make my own choices and you make yours. She paused. He didn't like that. Nova said, he will try a third angle. Sira said, I know. She looked at Nova. Thank you. For the terrace. Nova said, you asked. Sira said, yes. Not friendship. Acknowledgement. Edwig, in the common room, said loudly that Vane was collecting the heroin now. Nova helped Mara with a footnote. The rumor died in the room before it finished landing. Passive warfare. Effective uptime. Nova did not attend the public loon reception where Sira performed the healing demonstration instead of sitting at Aldous's right hand. Celine reported it in explosive detail. Sira magnificent. Photographers catching service, not romance. Aldous smiling with eyes that did not. Edwig said Vane had coached the heroine. Nova said, Sira executed. Mara said, same thing. Nova said, execution matters. Sira said later, it worked. Nova said, for now. Thank you, and you asked we're becoming protocol. Protocol was reliable. Reliable beat rumor. Caden passed her in the main hall without stopping, and his log probably noted the loon reception outcome if his crown cousins talked. Let him note, notes were not verdicts. Sira practiced healing notation in the garden that evening, public skill, and not prince accessory. Nova watched from the colonnade without joining. Joining would have been narrative, watching was data. Aldous's third angle would come as a smaller invitation or a crown errand, and she would help Sira parse it when it did, alliance-shaped behavior without alliance paperwork. She did not tell Sira that Caden had probably logged the reception. Some data made people perform, and Sira needed to perform as herself, not as a counter-entry in Ashfile's leather book. That was care without saying care. Thursday folio hour brought another exception handler derived while Torin watched without praise. She left with ink on her fingers and Crane's name unspoken in the office. The terrace wind, still in memory, and Sira's letter still traveling east. And the slow, unscripted compile of something between two girls who were not enemies and not friends continuing without errors yet, at least, none she could see in the logs. Later, walking back through the colonnade, Sira fell into step without ceremony. Sira said, he's going to ask me to reconsider again. Nova said, probably. Sira said, I'll say no again. Nova said, good. Sira said, my cousin thinks I'm making a mistake. Nova said, your cousin benefits from crown proximity. You don't have to optimize for her comfort. Sira was quiet for 10 steps. Then she said, that's very unvillainous of you. Nova said, I'm full of surprises. Sira almost smiled again, closer this time, not quite landing. She peeled off toward the loon townhouse wing without another word. Nova watched her go and thought about patches that held and patches that failed and the difference between advising someone and owning their choices. She had advised. Sira had chosen. That was the only architecture that did not rot. She wrote it in the notebook before bed. Sira, second refusal expected. Counsel, hold line. Do not absorb crown guilt. Then she slept, and the capital kept moving around her the way capitals always did. Photographers, runners, princes who measured rooms, and girls who were learning to refuse the script without burning the set down. The fault database began as a single page and became a system. Nova built it in the bathroom at 2 a.m. and in the library corral at noon and in the margin space of approved lecture notes where Cipher shorthand looked like anxiety doodles to anyone glancing over her shoulder. It was not a weapon. It was a repository, cross-referenced fault patterns in standard inscriptions, indexed by type, rank, source text, and cluster. The first cluster she named for threshold defenses that ignored below-threshold physical force, Pren's instance, Torin's lecture example, the Academy simulation scripts. The second for conditional bridges too tight for humidity variance, her own early failures in the Manor Garden, the same flaw common in approved Rank 2 templates. The third for missing exception handlers on self-referential loops, present in the pre-Academy foundational text and absent from every approved curriculum she had opened. The fourth for authentication panels that treated rank as identity, the restricted section door, not yet exploitable, logged for future. She mapped not just where the faults were but how they clustered, the same missing grammar producing the same failure modes across different texts, the way a single deprecated library version produced the same crash signature across unrelated applications. Intentionality had a shape. Random error was noisy. Curation was patterned. The vaulted circle did not have a name in her notebook yet. The fingerprint did, absences that pointed the same direction, closures labeled unproductive in Crane's historical innovations, transfers to restricted in the same 2-year window as K, Bain's catalog entry, sever testimony removed with passive voice. 5 missing operations in every approved text she had opened. She drew a line between cluster C and the 5 absences and wrote, "Same hand?" She did not know. Pattern matching early had saved her before. She would rather false positive a conspiracy than false negative one and die. The database grew by accretion. Each new inscription she read in OpenStax, architectural theory, defensive templates, medical monitoring basics, got scanned for the gap between what the effect promised and what the grammar delivered. Each gap got a tag. Each tag got a cross-reference. By the third night, she needed a second notebook page, then a third, encoded in Cipher notation that looked like geometric fidgeting. Not a weapon. A map of the cage's weld points. In her previous life, she had built similar repositories, CV lists, vendor patch gaps, client infrastructure misconfigs, always for exploitation or sale. Here she built for orientation, where the system was weak, where the system was weak on purpose, where weakness could be patched for people like Pren, where weakness could be used by people like Morthen's operatives someday, if she did not understand it first. She thought about zero-day protocol, unnamed still, instinct with a methodology. Observe full operation. Identify fault conditions. Design triggering input or protective patch. The database was stage 1 infrastructure, passive identification at scale. She sat on the bathroom floor with the notebook open on her knees, and the rank 3 door monitor dormant above her head. Water not running tonight. Mara was asleep, Celine snoring, Sira's breathing even. Quiet enough to think. She added a 5th cluster from memory, foundation panels in instructional halls, decorative notation carrying a subset of authentication grammar. Orientation ceiling tell. Practice hall corners. Possible anchor architecture, unconfirmed. She had no proof, only Torin's glance and the hum on the restricted door and 200 years of Academy buildings accumulating under Crane's family city plan. Hypothesis only. Do not act. She closed the notebook. This was night work, the labor that did not show on examination boards or placement results or Caden's log. This was the labor Hanasio would have done for money. Nova Vane did it for survival and something adjacent to purpose she did not name. The bathroom light flickered, inscription lamp low on mana. She dismissed it and rewrote it. Rank 3 maintenance on a rank 1 fixture. The gap between public and private expressed in household chores. In the morning, Torin lectured on failed schools. Edwick whispered somewhere Nova did not stand. Pren nodded at her in the corridor. Gratitude without scene. Fixed branch acknowledged. Caden did not nod. He watched. The database grew another line. The Academy pretended it taught magic. Nova pretended she was a student. Under both pretenses, the same work continued, reading the system until the system became legible. Legibility was power. She was getting literate. The notebook went back under the loose lining of her travel bag, not the floorboard anymore. The manor was 100 miles away, and the day began normal on the surface with the database underneath. Same architecture as every system she had ever beaten. Different stakes. Higher. By the end of the week, the database filled 7 pages of Cipher shorthand. Cluster E remained hypothesis, anchor architecture unconfirmed, but she passed the practice hall's foundation corner on the way to lecture and felt the panel hum, identical to the restricted door grammar subset. She did not touch it. Touching was logging. She logged in the notebook instead. Cluster A had 4 verified instances. Cluster C had 12 absences mapped to the 5 missing operations with 90% overlap to Crane's historical innovations closures. Intentionality's shape sharpened. She showed nothing to Torin yet except hunger in the library checkout logs he already saw. Thursday would be the channel for folio grammar. The database stayed private, not a weapon, a map. Weapons came later. Maps came first. Mara asked why she doodled so much in margins. Nova said anxiety. Mara said weird anxiety. Nova said accurate. Seelan tried to peek at the margin doodles. Nova angled the notebook. Trust was partial. Privacy was total. Night work continued, bathroom, corral, roof terrace when proctors were elsewhere. Each night one new fault tag. Each morning approved notation in class. The gap was a full rank now. Rank 3 monitor on the door, rank 2 on the board, Cipher in the notebook, approved on the tablet. For layers. 1 person. She thought about the vaulted circle unnamed, the fingerprint confirmed by clustering, K, vein behind restricted glass. The database was how she would reach them eventually, not with a sword, with a proof chain built from bugs. Bugs were her native language. Rank 3 had changed what she could do in the bathroom and nothing she could admit in the hall. She tested humidity logging on the mirror surface, beside the door monitor. 3-hour retention, no alert, just data. Rank 2 produced effects. Rank 3 produced systems. She logged variance because Theo's emergent heat might correlate with moisture when his next packet arrived. Family and research, same notebook, different tags. She dismissed both inscriptions before Mara woke and rewrote the door monitor in 4 minutes, speed improving. Midterm would force calibration eventually, showing rank 3 less suspicious than hiding rank 2 forever. She would calibrate when the board required it. She always did. A week later, at the second Thursday office hour, Torin showed her a passage in the folio, sever school branching before suppression, and asked her to derive the missing exception handler without looking at the answer page. She derived it. He nodded once and said, "Your mother could do that at your age." She said, "You knew her." He said, "I met her twice. She was magnificent." The same word Crane used, different temperature. "Do not let them make you small." She said, "I won't." She did not ask who they were. The name was in the room anyway. When she left, she added Torin's temperature to the database. Crane magnificent with grief and control. Torin magnificent with anger and regret. She walked past the restricted section landing without looking up. K. Vane waited behind glass. Proof waited in the East Wing study at the manor. She waited too, with folio grammar and Thursday hours and a brother's heat on paper enough for now. Not enough for Endgame, but Endgame was far and she was still alive and still building. The cage's weld points were mapped in cipher doodles. No one noticed. Notice came later, with evidence. She would have plenty by then. The note was tucked under her library Corel's ink tray, plain paper, Scholar Torin's handwriting, no seal. The note said, "My office, 7th hour, Thursday." No question mark. Not an invitation. An appointment she could refuse only by accepting the cost of refusing. Nova went. Torin's office was on the faculty corridor's quiet wing, 3rd floor, window facing the academy's inner courtyard, shelves crowded with texts that were not the open collection's sanitized versions. He closed the door when she entered. Not threatening. Privacy. He said, "Sit." She sat. He pulled a folio from the shelf behind his desk, not restricted section work, nothing with the archive's red stamp, and opened it on the space between them. Cipher notation. Not her mother's hand. Older, pre-academy formalization, the grammar more comprehensive than anything she had derived from the Manor's bottom-shelf text and Kira's memorized working notes. 12 operations visible on the first page. All 12. Not 7. She did not touch the folio. She said, "Where did this come from?" Torin said, "A private source I do not name." She said, "Not the restricted section." He said, "Not the restricted section." The sentence was a boundary and a confession. He had access channels the catalog did not list, and he was choosing to show her one. He turned pages, conditional grammar, self-referential loops, exception handling written as first-class operations, not footnotes. Nova read without touching the ink. The strokes were older than Kira's working notes and cleaner than the approved curriculum's 7 operations sealing, a language that assumed inscription could respond to itself, to environment, to state. She traced the logic in air above the page and felt the same click she had felt reading the pre-academy foundational text at the Manor. Recognition. The hacker's quiet O. This is a complete language, settling in her chest like a lock finding its key. Torin watched her watch the folio. He did not hurry her. He had brought her here because he knew she would read it the way he had, not as heritage, as architecture. Torin said, "Your mother studied from texts in this lineage. I found a reference to her work in the pre-archive records before they were updated." Nova was very still. He said, "The reference was removed afterward. I kept the note." He slid a scrap across the desk, not the folio, a copy of an index line in an archivist's hand. The scrap read, K. Vein, Cipher Affinity, Research Flagged. Removed. Kept. He was telling her something specific. There are people who remove things from records. She nodded once. She said, "How do you know about my mother's work?" He said, "I was a junior archivist before I was a lecturer. I saw the entry the week it appeared. I saw it disappear the week after her death was registered." He paused, thumb on the scrap's edge. "I should have done more then. I'm doing more now." Nova heard the cost in the pause, not theater, the weight of a man who had watched a record vanish and chosen survival over confrontation, and who was now a decade later, risking his position by opening a door for a 17-year-old Vane the institution had already decided how to read. Nova said, "Crane." Not a question. Torin's jaw tightened. "I did not say that name in this office." She said, "Understood." Silence. He closed the folio. He said, "You are using Cipher in practical class when I allow it. You are hiding it in public. Good. Keep hiding it." He met her eyes. "You are also hunting gaps in the OpenStacks. I can tell by which books you've checked out." She said, Torin assigned the reading. He almost smiled. "Don't perform innocence. It doesn't suit you." She said, "What do you want?" Direct. The only move that worked with people like him and Caden and Rian, people who respected precision more than charm. Torin said, "I want to know if you're hunting gaps because you're curious or because you understand what the gaps mean." She said, "Both." He held her gaze. He said, "Then we have overlap." "Not an alliance." "Overlap." She said, "All right." He returned the folio to the shelf. He said, "Thursday evenings, if you have questions about Cipher, come here. Do not bring Edwick. Do not bring the crown. Do not bring Masterhead." She said, "Understood." She stood. At the door she said, "The K. Vane entry on the restricted catalog." His face went still. "You found that?" She said, "Read-only terminal." He said, "Don't breach it." She said, "I'm not ready." He exhaled relief or frustration. She could not tell. "When you're ready, come to me first." She left. The corridor was bright after his office dim. Students passed with armloads of approved texts, laughing about something that did not require exception handlers or pre-archive ghosts. Nova walked among them carrying a folio she had not been allowed to copy and a scrap she had memorized in 3 readings, the K. Vane line sitting behind her eyes like a password she was not yet cleared to use. She walked to the night tower with the folio's afterimage in her mind, complete grammar, her mother's lineage, records removed by hands that had access to the pre-archive. First real ally. Overlap, not alliance. Conditions. She could work with conditions. She wrote in the notebook, Torin, Pre-Academy Cipher Folio. Mother reference confirmed. Record removal confirmed. Thursday office channel open. Head excluded. She closed the book. Crane's name had not been spoken aloud in the office. It had been in the room anyway. The suppression network was still unnamed. The fingerprint was getting clearer. She ate dinner. Sira said Aldous had replied to her refusal with polite acceptance and a second invitation smaller in scope, a salon seat, not a throne beside him, the crown testing whether Nova's terrace council had been strategy or accident. Nova said test. Sira said yes. They did not say more. Sira ate. Nova watched her eat and thought about two girls learning to refuse the same script from different angles, and about Torrens' closed door, and about how many kinds of protection existed if you were willing to accept overlap instead of rescue. Nova had a door now, faculty, private, dangerous, and she would use it the way she used every access point, carefully, with backup plans, never trusting the hinge more than she had to. Thursday evenings meant Cipher in a room with a closed door, which was better than a godfather's warmth in a hall with 200 witnesses. She filed that without sentiment. Sentiment was a side effect. The folio stayed on Torrens' shelf. She did not copy it because copying created artifacts, some things you memorized because memory was harder to seize in a dormitory search. She had learned that in another life and would not unlearn it here. A week later, at the second Thursday office hour, Torrens showed her a passage in the folio, Sever School branching before suppression, and asked her to derive the missing exception handler without looking at the answer page. Nova worked on the desk's blank side with her own stylus, Cipher ink darkening as her concentration steadied. The branch was ugly, 3 nested conditionals with a self-reference that would loop if the exception fired wrong. She wrote the handler twice, dismissed the first attempt, wrote the third from memory of the folio's grammar rules, and felt the notation hold. Torrens nodded once and said, "Your mother could do that at your age." She said, "You knew her." He said, "I met her twice. She was magnificent." The same word Crane used, different temperature. "Do not let them make you small." She said, "I won't." She did not ask who they were. The name was in the room anyway. When she left, she added Torrens' temperature to the database. Crane magnificent with grief and control. Torrens magnificent with anger and regret. She walked past the restricted section landing without looking up. K. Vane waited behind glass. Proof waited in the East Wing study at the manor. She waited too, with folio grammar and Thursday hours and a brother's heat on paper enough for day 162, not enough for Endgame, but Endgame was far and she was still alive and still building. 2 readers could verify a proof. 1 reader could only suspect. She intended to verify eventually. Theo's letter arrived on a morning when the capital rain made the Academy's stones smell like river water and the night tower's windows wept condensation onto the sills. Nova collected it at the embassy drop, correspondence still routed through Vane channels, still read by attaches who pretended they did not parse content. Theo's handwriting had improved. The sentences had not become longer. He had written, 3 inscriptions from your notation sheet. 2 worked. 3rd, light plus directional heat. Did not plan heat. Attached structure. Did you know? Attached, notation diagram, cipher strokes, emergent branch circled in angry pencil. Nova unfolded the diagram under the embassy awning and followed Theo's strokes with her finger, not touching the ink. The light inscription was standard enough, approved skeleton, competent execution for a boy who had only had her private grammar for weeks. The heat branch was not standard. It forked from waste energy with no separate specification, the grammar doing what complete grammar did when 2 instructions interacted and found nowhere else to route the surplus. Emergent. Accidental only in the sense that he had not planned it. Inevitable in the sense that the notation was real. She read it again. She thought, my 14-year-old brother just produced an unplanned novel inscription from first principles and his first instinct was to document it. Lady Kira Vane's children. She wrote back at the embassy desk before returning to the academy. No, did not know heat would emerge. Document exactly, full notation, ambient conditions, mana expenditure, time to emergence, directional vector. Redo twice. Compare. Send all 3 runs. She did not write I'm proud. She did not write be careful. Theo would hear care in the instruction or he would not. She sealed the letter. The attaché took it without comment. That evening in the 7th floor room, she pulled out her copy of the private Cipher system she had left him, not the sheet in the schoolroom. The extended grammar she had mailed 2 weeks ago in a packet Rian had approved without asking why the notation looked like doodles. Theo had built from it. 2 worked. 1 emergent. Emergent was rank 2's threshold concept, unscripted output from instruction interaction. Theo had hit it at 14 in a Garden 3 days ride from Valheim because Kira's drills and Nova's corrections and his own furious patience had stacked into competence the Academy would not see for years if he stayed hidden. He could not stay hidden forever. Neither could she. She wrote a second letter longer, still without sentiment padding, explaining the humidity branch coupling that could produce heat if the light instructions waste energy had nowhere else to route. She described threshold behavior, variance bands, the difference between planned thermal output and emergent coupling. She gave him a logging template time, ambient moisture, mana draw, directional vector, because templates turned panic into procedure, and procedure was what kept talented children alive when the institution was not on their side. She thought about Theo on the manor steps raising one hand. She thought about we in the garden. She thought about the box under the 3rd planter still in his custody, a brother who documented heat because documentation was how you turned accident into knowledge. She added 1 line at the end, then crossed it out. Keep practicing at night. Do not show anyone the emergent work yet. She crossed out yet and wrote until I say, then crossed out the whole sentence and left the technical paragraphs only. He would hide anyway. He was Kira's son. He knew what visibility cost. Sira asked, good news or bad? Nova said, family. Sira said, ah. She did not ask more. Mara said, your brother writes? Nova said, he documents. Mara looked confused. Seelan said, same thing in smart families, I think. Nova almost smiled. Almost. She went to the library. She added Theo's emergent heat notation to the fault database, not as a fault, as a case study in emergent coupling, tagged Cipher, unsupervised, age 14, high risk if observed by head pipeline. The family was a security surface now. She would protect it the way she protected the rank 3 bathroom inscription, quietly, technically, without announcing the firewall existed. Torrens' Thursday channel could not know about Theo yet. Rian's 12-second courtyard look was a different kind of firewall. Crane's godfather interest was the threat. She wrote in the notebook, Theo, emergent above rank 2 effect, directional heat from light inscription. Talent confirmed. Visibility risk, extreme. She closed the notebook. In her previous life, she had no one to write to who would circle an emergent effect and ask, did you know? She had not deserved anyone. She had Theo anyway, because the world was not fair, and the body was not hers, and the brother was real, and the work was real, and the heat was real. She would answer with documentation requests, because that was love and the only grammar she trusted not to perform. She mailed the second letter from the embassy runner before curfew. Rain on the capital. Theo's diagram in her bag copy. Kira's grammar surviving in 2 bodies the suppression network had not accounted for. That was an exploit too. Not 0 day. Slow release. Generational. The worst kind if you were the institution that thought you had suppressed the Sever line and the Cipher line and the Kira vein line and could sleep for 200 years while the proof hid in a desk and the drills hid in a garden box and the children hid in plain sight. Practicing at midnight. Nova was one of those children, wearing a villainous name. Theo was the other, wearing 14 and furious hope he would not admit. She went to bed. The letters traveled east. She slept 4 hours and woke to rain on the capital and the manor far away and her brother close in ink, enough distance to work with, enough closeness to matter. She did not call it family in the notebook or in her head. She called it Theo, document and protect. Same thing in different grammar. Rian's reply arrived 3 days later, 1 line in the same operational grammar as always, document everything. Do not perform small. Do not perform large. Father and daughter communicating in constraints. Nova read it twice and burned the copy after memorizing. Paper was artifact. Memory was not. Theo's second packet came with 3 runs of the heat emergent effect, notation, conditions, vectors documented with the furious precision of a 14-year-old who had decided documentation was how you loved something without saying the word. Nova spread the pages on her Corel and compared them the way she compared fault logs. Run 1, higher humidity, heat vector drifting east. Run 2, controlled moisture, cleaner emergence. Run 3. Deliberate replication of Run 2 with minor notation adjustment, variance narrowing. He was learning. He was learning fast. Nova wrote back 4 pages of technical response, questions, corrections. One praise she buried inside a footnote about efficient dismissal timing because praise performed was praise that could be quoted by the wrong person. The attaché said, "Your brother writes a great deal." Nova said, "He documents." The attaché nodded as though that explained noble families. Maybe it did now. She added Theo's runs to the database as an emergent case study, Cipher, unsupervised, high visibility risk, and underlined protect Theo twice. She thought about Kira's children, 2 siblings practicing at midnight on different estates, same grammar, different threat models. She could not protect Theo from the manor with presence. She could protect him with instructions and silence and letters that looked like homework. For now. Eventually she would need him visible or hidden strategically. Not yet. Practical class brought Pren's nod, Edwig's whisper, Sira declining a third Aldous angle Nova heard about from Ceylon. Caden watched once from the forge wing window. She felt it without looking, the way you felt a camera without seeing the lens. Let him watch. Let Theo document. Let Torin keep the folio. Let the database grow. Let M stay silent 1 more week. Theo's heat was real in ink on paper. Her rank 3 was real in a bathroom panel. The alliance overlap was real in Torin's office. Nothing was safe. Everything was building, and building was slower than hacking, slower was sometimes stronger. She would find out. Day 158, and the work continued.